You're lying in bed, replaying a text you sent 4 hours ago. Not because anything's wrong with it. It's just sitting there. And your brain decides this is the perfect time to ask, was that too much? Should I have used a period? Did that sound weird? Meanwhile, the person you sent it to already replied, moved on with their life, and probably forgot the conversation even happened. But you're still there, building a courtroom in your head. Prosecution, defense, closing arguments, the whole thing, over a text that said, sounds good. Here's the part that gets me. You know it's ridiculous while you're doing it. That's the weird part. You're not confused about whether this is a big deal. You know it's not. And you keep doing it anyway. I used to think overthinking meant I was smart. Like I was being careful, thorough, a considers all angles kind of person. Turns out, that's not really what's happening. Overthinking isn't extra thinking. It's often the same 3 or 4 thoughts looping over and over, dressed up to look like progress. And that's the surprising part. Overthinking feels productive. It feels like you're doing something about the problem. But if you actually wrote down what you thought about for those 2 hours, it would probably be about 6 sentences, repeated 40 times, with slightly different levels of panic. So why does the brain do this? It's not because you're broken, overly emotional, or whatever your inner critic wants to call you. It's simpler than that. Your brain doesn't always handle uncertainty comfortably. When something feels unresolved, your attention can keep coming back to it, almost like an unfinished task sitting in the back of your mind. Something's unresolved, so it keeps pinging you, kind of like a notification badge that won't disappear. Except there's no button to tap. There's no resolve option for, did I sound weird in that text? So the alarm just keeps going. And there's a second piece that's honestly even sneakier. Overthinking can feel safer than acting. Because if you're still thinking about the decision, you haven't made it yet. And if you haven't made it yet, you can't be wrong yet. So part of your brain may keep analyzing because analyzing feels like protection. It's not necessarily laziness. It's your mind trying to avoid a mistake by delaying the moment when a mistake becomes possible, which, when you say it out loud, sounds almost logical. And that's exactly why it's so hard to snap out of. It's not a stupid habit. It's a smart-sounding habit that just doesn't work. So what actually helps? Not just stop thinking. Because if that worked, you wouldn't be watching a video about it. First, give the thought a job, or let it go. When you catch yourself spiraling, ask one blunt question. Is there an action I can take on this right now? If yes, take the smallest version of that action immediately. Reply to the text. Send the email, even if it's not perfect. Book the appointment instead of researching the 11th clinic. But if the answer is no, there's genuinely nothing you can do right now, then tell yourself that. Out loud if you need to. There's nothing I can do about this right now. It sounds too simple to work. But the loop keeps running because your brain thinks there's still something to solve. Telling yourself the problem is temporarily closed gives your attention permission to move on. Second, put a timer on the decision. Not because you're rushing yourself. Because open-ended thinking has no edges. And your brain will happily fill whatever amount of time you give it. 10 minutes to decide what to text back. 2 minutes to pick what to order. 15 minutes to choose between 2 options. It feels artificial at first. Maybe even a little silly. But the boundary forces your brain to treat the decision like an actual decision instead of an infinite research project. Third, and this one's underrated, talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend who's spiraling. Not, why are you like this? Instead, okay, what's actually the worst realistic outcome here? Not the worst outcome your anxiety can invent. The worst realistic one. 9 times out of 10, it's probably mild. Mildly awkward. Mildly inconvenient. Uncomfortable, maybe, but survivable. Saying it plainly, in normal language, can deflate the whole thing. Because overthinking loves vague possibilities. It hates specific reality. Now here's the part that actually changed things for me more than any trick. I used to think the goal was to stop overthinking completely. Like there was some finish line where my brain would suddenly become calm and decisive forever. That's not really how it works. And chasing that goal made things worse. Because now I was overthinking about my overthinking. Genuinely. What helped was realizing that overthinking isn't necessarily the enemy. It's more like a smoke alarm that's a little too sensitive. It's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect you. It's just badly calibrated. The move isn't to rip the smoke alarm off the wall. It's to notice when it's going off because of burnt toast instead of an actual fire, and respond accordingly. Some thoughts deserve your attention. Most of the 3 a.m. ones don't. You get to decide which is which, instead of treating every alarm as equally urgent. And that shift matters because it takes the shame out of it. You're not weak for overthinking. You're not broken. You're just running a system that's a little too cautious. And you can learn to work with it instead of constantly fighting yourself. So here's the one tiny thing I want you to do. Right now, think about the one thing you've been overthinking today. Just one. And ask yourself this single question. Is there an action I can take on this in the next 5 minutes? If yes, go do it before you finish watching another video. If no, say it out loud. Nothing to do right now. And let it sit there unresolved. That's allowed. Because sometimes the smartest thing you can do isn't think harder. It's knowing when you've thought enough. If this helped even a little, this is exactly the kind of thing we dig into here at Mindset Made. So stick around, subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.